A unique family twist played out in court Wednesday morning, as for the first time, the oldest son of Sherra Wright watched his accused mother appear in the murder case of his father, and his grandmother weighed in with her emotions.
So, imagine what's going through his head. He don't want to believe it, but some stuff you just got to follow evidence on.
With a mix of emotions, Deborah Marion reacted to Sherra Wright smiling at Marion's 23-year-old grandson, Lorenzen Wright Jr., in court Wednesday.
It's going to be a rock and roll, but I'm ready.
Sherra is accused of killing her son's father, Memphis basketball star Lorenzen Wright, in 2010.
All I want all my grandkids to do, just follow the evidence. I don't want nobody sidebar telling them nothing.
In Sherra Wright's short court appearance, Judge Lee Coffey ordered a mental health evaluation to determine if she's fit to stand trial.
She's depressed. She's sad about this entire proceeding.
Wright Jr. declined comment leaving the courtroom, but his grandmother sent her love and support to him in this complicated family dynamic.
I don't try to pressure him into anything. Whatever he want to tell me, I let him tell me. Or whatever he don't want to tell me, I do that too.
Lorenzen Wright did not know he was being called into a murder trap. On the night of July 18, 2010, his ex-wife, Sherra Wright, contacted him with talk of money and arranged for him to come out. Lorenzen responded because the call came from the mother of his children, someone who knew exactly how to get his attention and exactly where to send him. But there was no legitimate deal waiting for him. Billy Ray Turner was waiting. The plan had already been discussed. The location had already been chosen. And when Lorenzen arrived and realized what was happening, the former NBA player turned and ran for his life. He was 6 feet 11 inches tall, athletic, and fast. He pushed through the darkness, crossed rough ground, and jumped barriers while the people behind him opened fire. Lorenzen kept running. Then he reached for his phone and called 911. Just after midnight, a dispatcher answered. A man's voice came through the line, but his words were difficult to understand. Then the dispatcher heard gunshots. Shot after shot exploded through the phone while Lorenzen was being hunted in the darkness. The call disconnected, and nobody was sent to help him. The dispatcher did not alert police officers. She did not notify a supervisor. She treated the call as though it were unimportant and moved on to the next person waiting on the emergency line. Lorenzen Wright had managed to contact the one system designed to respond when a life was in immediate danger. That system heard the gunfire and did nothing. For the next 10 days, his mother called him repeatedly, knowing that something was wrong. Lorenzen normally stayed in contact with her. He did not disappear without explanation. But while his family searched, Lorenzen's body remained in a remote, swampy field in southeast Memphis. He had been shot multiple times and abandoned in the summer heat. When investigators finally recovered him on July 28th, decomposition had already destroyed valuable evidence. Officers tried to keep his mother, Deborah Marion, away from the place where her firstborn son had been left. She crossed beneath the police tape anyway. And from that moment, Deborah made a promise that would control the next 7 years of her life. She would not allow the people who killed Lorenzen to walk away. But while his mother was demanding justice, Sherra began creating distance between herself and the murder. She publicly suggested that Lorenzen may have become involved in a drug deal that went wrong. She attended his funeral. She stood among his grieving family while knowing the truth about the meeting that brought him into those woods. Then she collected the money. Lorenzen had taken out a $1 million life insurance policy as part of the financial arrangements following their divorce. The policy was supposed to protect their children if anything happened to him. Sherra received the payout after his death. Within 10 months, nearly every dollar was gone. Her account was left with only $5.50. A former NBA player had been lured into an ambush. His final 911 call had captured the sound of his murder. The dispatcher had sent no help. His body had been left to decompose. And the woman who helped arrange his death collected the $1 million policy meant for their children and spent almost all of it. But the most disturbing part was that Sherra did not act alone. Investigators would eventually uncover approximately 170 communications between her and Billy Ray Turner during the month before Lorenzen's death. They would learn that the successful ambush was not the first attempt to kill him. They would discover that a convicted murderer inside Sherra's own family knew where the gun had been hidden. And when the truth finally reached the courtroom, the woman who helped create the plot would receive less prison time than the man convicted of carrying it out. Before we continue, subscribe to this channel, because this story is not simply about the murder of a former NBA player. is about a mother who fought for 7 years, an emergency call that should have triggered an immediate rescue, $1 million payout that disappeared almost as quickly as it arrived, and an ex-wife who used trust, money, and family ties to lead the father of her children toward the people waiting to kill him. To understand how Lorenzen Wright became vulnerable to that betrayal, we need to go back to Memphis, long before the wooded field, the insurance money, and the gun hidden at the bottom of a Mississippi lake. Lorenzen Vern Gagne Wright was born in Memphis, Tennessee, on November 4, 1975. Long before the city knew him as an NBA player, Memphis knew him as a gifted local basketball talent. He attended Booker T. Washington High School before transferring to Lafayette High School in Mississippi. On the court, his height made him impossible to ignore, but size alone was not what separated him from other young players. Lorenzen could move. He could rebound, defend, and finish around the basket. He had the physical build of a center, but enough mobility to play forward. He eventually attended the University of Memphis, where his success made him one of the city's most recognizable young athletes. In 1996, the Los Angeles Clippers selected Lorenzen with the 7th overall pick in the NBA draft. For a young man from Memphis, the selection represented far more than entry into professional basketball. It meant financial security, national attention, and an opportunity to bring his family into a life that had once seemed unreachable. Over the next 13 seasons, Lorenzen played for the Clippers, Atlanta Hawks, Memphis Grizzlies, Sacramento Kings, and Cleveland Cavaliers. He was not marketed as an international superstar, but he became something especially valuable in Memphis. He became one of their own. When he played for the Grizzlies, fans were not simply cheering for another athlete wearing the team's jersey. They were cheering for a Memphis son who had made it to the league and returned to represent his hometown. People remembered Lorenzen as approachable. He signed autographs, stopped for photographs, spoke to fans, and remained connected to the city long after professional basketball had carried him across the country.
I always dreamed about having a basketball team or a football team, and we got this team. I was on the Atlanta Hawks, and at the time that was the closest team to being in Memphis, so I felt like I was at home by being in Atlanta. And when the team came here, I just knew it wasn't possible that I would actually be on this team. And it happened so fast. It was just a great thing to happen to me, and I thank God for bringing me here.
Over his career, he earned tens of millions of dollars. But by 2010, the money and fame had not protected him from personal instability. His playing career was ending. Injuries had taken their toll. Much of the fortune he earned was gone. His marriage was over. And the woman who had shared most of his adult life was becoming increasingly connected to another man. Sherra Wright had known Lorenzen since they were young. Her father had coached him when he was growing up, which meant the relationship was built inside a larger family connection. This was not a woman who had entered his life after the NBA contracts and public attention. She knew Lorenzen before the money, before the professional career, before Memphis crowds cheered his name. They married and built a large family. Together, they had 7 children, though their daughter Sierra Simone died from sudden infant death syndrome in 2003. The loss devastated both parents. Lorenzen publicly spoke about the pain, describing Sierra as a precious part of him, and explaining that he and Sherra would have to remain strong for the children still depending on them. At that moment, they looked like 2 parents united by unbearable grief. But over the following years, the marriage deteriorated. The same relationship that began in youth and survived the pressures of professional sport eventually ended in divorce. In January 2010, Sherra and Lorenzen formally separated through the courts. The divorce settlement left Sherra with the family home in Collierville. Lorenzen was ordered to pay a substantial amount in monthly child support. He also took out a $1 million life insurance policy intended to provide financial protection for the children if anything happened to him. Sherra was the beneficiary. On paper, it looked like responsible financial planning. Lorenzen had 6 surviving children. His professional career was ending, but his responsibility as a father was not. The policy was supposed to protect them. Months later, it would become one of the most controversial details in his murder. After the divorce, Lorenzen and Sherra remained connected through the children. He still visited the home. He still interacted with the woman he had known for most of his life. And despite the end of the marriage, he appeared to believe they could maintain enough trust to raise their family. But another relationship was developing around Sherra. Billy Ray Turner worked as a landscaper. He performed yard work around Memphis, including work connected to the Wright family. He was also a deacon at the church Sherra attended. From the outside, Turner looked like a man living a relatively ordinary life. He worked, participated in church, and presented himself as someone who had moved beyond earlier trouble. But prosecutors said the connection between Turner and Sherra became romantic. Sherra's legal team later acknowledged that there had been a brief relationship. Turner denied being her lover and maintained that their connection was professional. The phone records told a more intimate story. In the 30 days leading up to Lorenzen's murder, Sherra and Turner communicated approximately 170 times. That averaged close to 6 contacts every day. Turner's defense would later suggest that the calls involved landscaping work. Prosecutors asked jurors to consider whether any ordinary landscaper needed to speak with a client almost 6 times a day for an entire month. And Turner was not the only dangerous person inside Sherra's circle. Her cousin, Jimmy Martin, was facing his own murder case. Martin had been accused of killing his girlfriend, Martha Bounds, in 2009. His first trial ended without a final verdict, leaving him free on bond while awaiting another trial. That meant Martin was outside prison during the same period when the plot against Lorenzen developed. He was later convicted of second-degree murder in Bounds' death and sentenced to 20 years. Years afterward, Martin would become the witness who finally told investigators where the gun used against Lorenzen had been hidden. But he would also become one of the most controversial people in the entire case. Because Martin knew extraordinary details about the planning, the failed attempts, the final ambush, and the destruction of evidence. Yet he never served a day for Lorenzen's murder. The plan to kill Lorenzen did not begin in the Memphis woods. Martin testified that there had been earlier attempts in Atlanta. In June 2010, 1 month before the murder, Sherra and Turner began trying to arrange Lorenzen's death. Martin described 2 failed attempts at Lorenzen's Atlanta home. The details changed across some of Martin's statements, and Turner's defense later used those inconsistencies to challenge his credibility. But prosecutors presented the failed attempts as evidence that Lorenzen's death was not a sudden argument that went too far. It was a sustained plan. Someone wanted him dead badly enough to keep trying after the first attempt failed. Then came July 18th. Lorenzen was back in the Memphis area and visited Sherra's Collierville home, where the children were staying. Whatever tension existed between the former spouses, Lorenzen still entered that home. That alone tells you how much trust remained. This was the mother of his children. This was a house filled with the life they had once built together. Late that night, Sherra directed him toward a meeting. Martin said she used the promise of money or a financial deal to lure him out. Lorenzen followed the instructions. He did not believe he was walking toward an execution. At the chosen location, the attack began. Martin testified that when Lorenzen recognized the danger, he turned and ran. The image Martin used in court was painfully specific. He said Lorenzen was jumping like a deer, running through the darkness, clearing obstacles, trying to stay alive as gunfire followed him through the trees. The details stayed with Lorenzen's mother, Deborah Marion. She knew how her son moved. She knew his speed and athleticism. When she heard Martin describe him jumping fences like a deer, she believed he had seen it himself. To Deborah, that description was too accurate to have come from a story someone casually repeated later. Martin said both Sherra and Turner had guns, and that both fired. Sherra's guilty plea established her participation in facilitating the murder, but she never publicly explained every detail of her actions that night. She never revealed under oath whether she fired. She never identified who delivered each shot. And she never gave Lorenzen's family a complete account of what happened during his final minutes. What is certain is that Lorenzen was chased and repeatedly shot. And while he was being pursued, he reached for his phone. Just after midnight on July 19th, his call entered the emergency system. The dispatcher heard his voice. Then the shooting. But the location was unclear, the call ended, and no emergency response was launched. Think about the cruelty of that moment. Lorenzen was not silently disappearing. He called the service people are taught to call when every other option is gone. The violence was audible. Yet no patrol cars searched the area. No officers followed the phone's signal into the night. No supervisor was warned that someone might have been shot while speaking to a dispatcher. How many of you believe the outcome might have changed if the call had been treated as an active emergency? Could Lorenzen have survived? Could police have reached the scene before evidence was removed? Could the killers have been caught that same night? Or was he already beyond help by the time the gunfire ended? Tell me what you think, because the fact that his final call was heard and ignored is one of the most haunting failures in this entire case. By the next morning, Lorenzen had vanished. His family did not immediately know where he had gone. He was an adult who traveled, conducted business, and maintained different relationships. A short period without contact did not automatically mean something terrible had happened. But Lorenzen spoke to his mother regularly. When calls went unanswered and days passed without hearing his voice, Deborah knew this was not normal. On July 22nd, the family reported Lorenzen missing. Investigators began checking his movements. They spoke with friends, looked into business connections, and questioned Sherra. At that time, the public did not know about the 911 call. They did not know that gunshots had been captured on emergency recording hours after Lorenzen left Sherra's house. To outsiders, Lorenzen was simply a former NBA player who had disappeared. Then, on July 28th, a man contacted police after discovering a foul smell near a wooded, swampy field in southeast Memphis. The location was not far from a golf course. It was isolated enough that someone could remain hidden among tall grass, brush, and standing water. Police found a badly decomposed body. The remains were identified as Lorenzen Wright. He had been missing for 10 days. The summer heat had made the condition of his body so disturbing that officers tried to stop Deborah from approaching the area. But this was her son. The police tape meant little to a mother who had spent days calling a phone that nobody answered. Deborah moved beneath the tape before officers stopped her from reaching the exact location. She did not need to see everything to understand. Her oldest child was dead. The investigation confirmed that Lorenzen had been shot multiple times. Different shell casings were recovered, supporting the conclusion that more than one weapon had been involved. The crime scene suggested planning. The location had been selected for concealment. The body had been left where weather, animals, and time could destroy evidence. And the delay caused by the ignored 911 call had given everyone involved days to clean, lie, hide weapons, and create distance from the murder.
Lorenzen Wright made headlines as the 7th overall pick in the 1996 NBA draft. He played for his hometown Memphis Grizzlies and had a huge impact on that community. But in 2010, he mysteriously disappeared. Police found his body 10 days later. The case went cold for 7 years until new evidence led Memphis police to make 2 arrests. Special correspondent James Brown has a preview of tomorrow's 48 Hours.
At nearly 7 feet tall, Lorenzen Wright was a giant in his hometown. First as a local high school star, then at the University of Memphis, and finally in the NBA with the Memphis Grizzlies.
Lorenzen was the hometown boy, makes good.
Former Memphis Police Director Tony Armstrong says Wright's impact was big.
You can imagine with all of the lives that he had touched, not only here in this city, but all across the world, it was a phenomenal story.
By 2010, Wright was 34 years old and at the end of a long NBA career. But then, one night in July, he suddenly went missing. This disturbing 911 call was placed by Lorenzen Wright.
911, where's your emergency?
I have nothing but gunshots.
But he was not able to identify himself. Dispatchers say they could not locate the source of the call, and no one made the connection.
He had disappeared, and he was gone over all of these days, and nobody knew anything. This is April from Channel 3.
Investigative reporter April Thompson covered the story for the Memphis CBS affiliate.
His mother, Deborah, really kind of pushed that something's not right.
We checked all his friends from here to Atlanta, Mississippi, everywhere, so I don't have a clue.
10 days later, the shocking news.
Lorenzen Wright's mother runs toward investigators.
Police in Memphis, Tennessee have found the body of former...
The police found Wright's body near a backwoods road some 20 miles outside of Memphis. He was shot 5 times.
This was Lorenzen Wright. Who would be hating him that much?
As Memphis mourned, months turned into years, and the city became obsessed with solving the murder of its favorite son.
There was a lot of pressure to solve it because of who Lorenzen Wright was and what he meant to this city.
Then finally, 7 long years after the murder, in November 2017, police got a break. They found the murder weapon in a lake. How unusual is it to find a key piece of evidence some 7 years later?
They found a needle in the haystack.
Weeks later, police arrested 2 people, a landscaper with a criminal past and Lorenzen Wright's ex-wife and the mother of his 7 children.
Just the thought of it, is this even real?
James Brown is with us from Washington. JB, good morning. It's so shocking to hear all of that, and then that his wife was arrested. Why do investigators think she was involved and why she did it?
Shocking and sobering. The story is indeed, Nora. And first of all, Sherra Wright, his ex-wife, and Billy Ray Turner, the landscaper, have both pled not guilty. Now, the prosecution alleges two things. One, that she and the landscaper were having an affair. And second, they allege that she killed Lorenzen Wright for the $1 million life insurance policy that he took out a short time before his death, Nora.
Mm-hmm. And how solid is the case against her?
Well, keep in mind that this was a cold case for quite a while. As a matter of fact, 7 years exactly. So we know that memories can be a little sketchy over that period of time, and evidence maybe not as solid as they'd like. Although there is more than one suspect, and often, as you know, Nora, the accused tend to point fingers at each other, so that always can present a challenge.
I'm still trying to think, if she's the ex-wife, why she wanted him gone, if their marriage was done and done.
Well, good question, Gail. 6 living kids, 7 kids they had total. So one would think it might have something to do with the kids. But with respect to that $1 million life insurance policy, I'll say this much in promoting the story for tomorrow. That $1 million life insurance policy was blown through in about 10 months, Gail.
JB, thank you. See, that's a good question, and it will probably be answered on Saturday night.
I was sitting there with my ex-wife hat on thinking, well, what? Okay, bye. Just wondering. Right.
Gail, please do not ever become part of a 48 hours report, okay? I will come visit you in the slammer.
I can be impartial.
I will come visit
impartial.
you.
I'm impartial. No judgment here.
All right, you can watch.
Memphis had lost one of its most recognizable basketball figures. 6 children had lost their father, and Deborah immediately made a promise. Someone would answer for what had been done to her son. Police and the FBI examined the people around Lorenzen, business contacts, friends, associates, and inevitably Sherra. She had a financial interest in his death. She knew his movements. She had been one of the last people known to have contact with him. But in 2010, investigators did not have the gun. They did not have a cooperating witness. And they did not have enough evidence to charge her. Sherra began speaking publicly about what she believed had happened. 3 months after Lorenzen's death, she suggested he may have been involved in a drug transaction. She said he could have gone out to flip drugs and encounter trouble. The story pushed suspicion away from the family. It suggested that Lorenzen had entered a dangerous criminal situation on his own. A deal went wrong. Unknown people killed him, and his former wife knew nothing beyond rumors. Years later, Sherra pleaded guilty to helping facilitate his murder. She had known the drug deal story was false. She was not a confused ex-wife trying to understand why her former husband was dead. She had participated in the plan that placed him in those woods. She still attended Lorenzen's funeral. The service was held at FedEx Forum, where Memphis had once celebrated him as a basketball player. Sherra sat among grieving relatives, friends, fans, and former teammates. She stood in the same space as Lorenzen's mother while carrying the truth about how he had died. Then came the insurance policy. Approximately 1 year after Lorenzen's death, Sherra collected the $1 million payout. Remember why the policy existed. Lorenzen had taken it out as part of the divorce arrangement to protect the children. It was supposed to preserve some stability if their father could no longer provide for them. But within 10 months, almost all the money was gone. Only $5.50 remained in the account. The money had been spent on property, furniture, vehicles, travel, and other expenses. The speed of the spending stunned people connected to the case. $1 million was gone in less than a year. Deborah never stopped believing money was central to the murder. Her message was simple. Follow the money. Who benefited when Lorenzen died? Who received the policy? Who spent it? And who had been communicating constantly with a man prosecutors later identified as one of the killers? Do you believe the $1 million payout was the primary motive? Or do you think money was only one part of a larger conflict involving divorce, resentment, control, and Sherra's relationship with Turner? Because whatever the final combination of motives was, the money meant the woman who helped plan Lorenzen's death received an enormous financial benefit afterward. Despite those suspicions, the case stalled. Months became years. No arrests came. The evidence grew colder. Witnesses remained silent. And the murder weapon stayed underwater in Mississippi. But Deborah refused to allow her son's case to disappear. She contacted Memphis police repeatedly, sometimes every week. She appeared publicly, spoke to reporters, organized events, and challenged the city to remember that Lorenzen's fame did not make his murder less personal. She participated in a monthly event known as the Ride of Tears, using a mock funeral procession to promote nonviolence and keep attention on unsolved killings. She held celebrations at Lorenzen's grave on his birthday. She spoke about the pain of losing a child and explained that although her son could not return, fighting for justice might help prevent another mother from suffering the same loss. For 7 years, Deborah remained visible. Sherra had the insurance money. The killers had their freedom. And Lorenzen's mother had only persistence. Then, in 2017, the silence broke. From prison, Jimmy Martin contacted investigators. He said he had information about Lorenzen's murder. More importantly, he knew where the gun had been thrown. Martin directed investigators to a lake near Walnut, Mississippi. A dive team entered the water and recovered a firearm. The weapon had been hidden for years, exactly where Martin said it would be. That discovery transformed him from a prison inmate with a story into someone with verifiable inside knowledge. Martin explained the murder plot. He described the earlier attempts, the final meeting, the chase, the gunfire, and the efforts to destroy evidence afterward. He admitted helping Turner dispose of the gun. He also described removing identifying information and helping eliminate materials connected to the crime. Yet Martin claimed he had not been present during the murder itself. He said he learned the details from Sherra afterward. That claim would become a major source of controversy. How could someone describe Lorenzen's movements with such precision? How did he know the exact location of the gun? How deeply had he participated in cleaning the evidence? And why should anyone accept that his involvement began only after Lorenzen was already dead? In exchange for his cooperation and testimony, Martin received immunity from prosecution in Lorenzen's case. He was already serving a sentence for murdering his girlfriend. But for everything he admitted doing around Lorenzen's death, he received no additional punishment. Deborah believed Martin had been at the crime scene. She believed there were 3 people and 3 guns. Prosecutors did not charge him. That immunity deal would later help secure Turner's conviction, but it left many people feeling that one person with detailed knowledge had escaped accountability. In December 2017, police arrested Billy Ray Turner at a gas station in Collierville. Days later, Sherra was arrested in California. 7 years after Lorenzen's body was found, his mother finally saw the people she had suspected taken into custody. Sherra and Turner were charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy, and attempted murder. The attempted murder charge reflected the earlier efforts to kill Lorenzen before the final ambush succeeded. Both defendants initially faced the possibility of spending the rest of their lives in prison. Then Sherra made a decision that changed the legal balance of the case. In July 2019, she accepted a plea deal. Sherra pleaded guilty to facilitation of first-degree murder and facilitation of attempted first-degree murder. This was not a plea in which she maintained her innocence. She accepted criminal responsibility for helping the plot. The court sentenced her to 30 years. Because of credit and parole eligibility rules, she could potentially seek release years before Turner would ever have that opportunity. The plea saved Sherra from a first-degree murder trial. She did not have to sit before a jury while prosecutors presented every call, financial record, witness statement, and accusation against her. She was not cross-examined about the night Lorenzen died. She never had to explain the drug deal story. She never had to describe the insurance money. And she never gave a complete public account of whether she fired a weapon. Her legal team had been preparing to argue that Lorenzen had been controlling and that Sherra feared him after the divorce. The plea meant that defense was never tested at trial. The evidence prosecutors would have presented against her was never challenged before a jury. Sherra admitted helping facilitate the murder, accepted 30 years, and avoided the risk of life imprisonment. Inside the courtroom, Deborah faced the woman who had helped arrange her son's death. But instead of spending the moment only expressing rage, Deborah asked about her grandchildren. After Sherra's arrest, some of the children had become separated from Lorenzen's side of the family. They had lost their father. Their mother was in prison, and the adults around them remained divided by accusations, grief, and loyalty. Deborah told Sherra that she still loved the children and wanted access to them. She thanked her for giving Lorenzen beautiful children and asked her to let them know their grandmother had not abandoned them.
Thank you, sir. Cheryl, I want to thank you for giving me my grandchildren. That's what I want to thank you for. But I want you to unlock them so I can visit them, so they can see their grandma. Because Sophia keep calling. She wants to come make chicken and dumplings. She wants to come in Memphis just to make chicken and dumplings. I want her to come. And the twins gonna be playing basketball near us now, so we want to see them too. We want them to be talking, let them know we didn't do anything to them. We didn't lie to them or anything. We just love them. We just want to see them. That's all. I want you to get the kids and let them know we didn't do anything to them. We love them. We want to see them. You know, Trail does the same. Hey, you know, Trail does the same. You know how the baby triplets for like what, 3 months? That Trail does the same age. He misses his nephews. And Trail finna be 20. And they're not gonna see him be here at 20. But I want you to call and let them know it's okay to talk to Grandma. Grandma still love you. That's all I want my grandkids. That's it. I just hate what happened to my child. But he left nice looking kids here for his grandma. So they want to see me like I want to see them. Lamar wants to see me. So if they want me dressed in, dumplings. You know how I let her cut them out with a piece of cut. And she want to do that. And I'm ready for them to come back to home with their family. I miss her.
Am I able to respond to her?
Mr. Gangle, you want your client to say anything at this point, sir?
No, Ms. Wright has nothing to say at this time.
Ms. Marion, again, I want to thank you.
All right, thank you.
Your family, I want to thank you for your patience. I want to thank you for allowing the legal process to run its course, Ms. Marion. And I hope, and I know what has happened to you and your family, your son, can never be undone by anything that these courts do. But I hope it brings you some closure. And I hope it allows your family to continue to heal. And again, thank you for your patience. And we'll deal with Mr. Turner's case in September, ma'am. Thank you all for being in court today.
Even in a courtroom built around her son's murder, Deborah was trying to repair the family the crime had destroyed. Turner did not accept a plea. He maintained his innocence and chose to stand trial. His case began in March 2022. The jury was sequestered because of the intense public attention surrounding the murder. Prosecutors relied on several powerful categories of evidence. The 170 communications between Sherra and Turner in the month before Lorenzen's death. Cell tower data placing Turner's phone near the crime scene shortly after the 911 call. The recovered gun. Turner's changing reaction when investigators questioned him about Sherra. And the testimony of Jimmy Martin. Turner's attorneys attacked the case as circumstantial. There was no DNA from Turner at the scene. No fingerprint on the weapon that conclusively proved he fired it. Cell towers could place a phone in a general area, but not show exactly who was holding it. And Martin was a convicted murderer receiving immunity for his testimony. The defense highlighted inconsistencies in Martin's earlier statements. At different times, his descriptions of the failed Atlanta attempts and his own participation shifted. His memory seemed clear when it damaged Turner, but uncertain when it threatened to implicate himself. That gave the defense a legitimate target. But prosecutors asked jurors to view Martin's testimony alongside evidence he could not invent. He knew where the gun was. His description connected with the phone records. The calls between Sherra and Turner were real. Turner's phone was in the relevant area. And Sherra had already pleaded guilty to helping facilitate the plot. Turner did not testify. After 8 days of trial, the jury deliberated for approximately 3 hours. On March 14, 2022, Billy Ray Turner was found guilty of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and attempted first-degree murder. Deborah had waited nearly 12 years to hear that verdict. She did not scream when the word guilty was read. She nodded. Later, she told reporters that the conviction could never provide closure because her son was still dead. But it provided satisfaction.
Lorenzen's mother, Deborah Marion, is speaking right now. Let's listen in.
His lawyer's mouth. It just didn't make sense. I'm glad he gone, though, but I wish he'd leave today. Sooner the better for me, but I'm just glad we got him. You know, it took 12 years. If it took 24, if he could get there at the end, I wouldn't mind. But we got it now. We ain't got to worry no more. Maybe I can sleep all night now. We got it. We did this.
Is this closure for you, Deborah?
It'll never be closure because I never see my son again. You know, until I go meet him. This is just some satisfaction for me and my family. You know, he did out my son, so now he gonna do his time. He did a crime, now he gotta go do the time. That's what I'm glad about, because he's not walking around free no more. That's what I didn't want him free, because he could do it to somebody else. If he can get somebody to manipulate him to kill somebody else, imagine what he could do on his own. This woman manipulated him, got his head crazy.
Ms. Marion, at the beginning of the proceedings, a couple of years back, you told Sherra in court, "Why did you kill my son?"
Right.
If you were able to speak with her today after this verdict, what would you tell her?
You don't want to know. It's not recordable.
Okay. But can you sanitize it for us?
Okay, you know good for nothing. Killing my child for money, and that you couldn't even keep no longer than 10 months. What they do that at? $1 million? That's what it was about, money. As I told him when he first came on missing, y'all need to go talk to the ex-wife. She's the only one gonna benefit. Was for that $1 million that she spent in 10 months.
For the life insurance policy?
Yes, for the money. I kept telling her, follow the money, follow the money. You will find out. And y'all see where it went.
Did you have any doubt Billy Turner was involved? Was there ever any doubt in your mind?
No. How you gonna call me 6 times? That's 6 times a day. No, he guilty. Jimmy, her cousin, but that was her lover. That's how he got manipulated. He was between a rock and a hard place. Do I do what my woman want me to do, or do I do the right thing? Do the right thing and get paying off over here. I better go on over there with her. That's what he did.
Well, you heard how they described your son running through that rural area like a deer.
But they wasn't lying. He could run like that. That's why I know he saw him, because he wasn't lying. My son could actually run like a deer. He was there. He saw him running. You can't just say, hey, somebody told me. You don't tell nobody he running like no deer. He was running fast, not like no deer. You saw him running, jumping fences.
Miss Marion, were you surprised to know that Sherra shot him?
What my police said? I told them. They told me no. I said, I don't care what y'all say, they help shot my son in the face. I knew that from day when they gave theirs. I looked at my autopsy papers. I know, but I know he got a face shot. I know that. You know, I hadn't even looked at my paper. I still haven't looked at them yet, but I knew if he had a face shot, she did.
Miss Marion, you heard of these meetings that took place,
right?
The plot to kill your son,
right?
And then you hear that Sherra, Miss Wright,
right,
thought your son had a hit out on her.
For what reason? What you gonna have a hit out on your broke ex-wife for? You gotta take care of all the kids by yourself. Then why you gonna give me? Like I said, don't make sense. Give me a reason. Why would he have a hit out on her? You know why she have a hit out on him? $1 million. That's why. No, he had no hit out on her. For what?
Is there anything in this trial that you didn't know that you learned in that courtroom? Or was everything?
Kind of, sort of. Well, a lot of stuff I already knew, and I told the police, like, shooting him in the face. I knew this. A lot of stuff you have to know Sherra. She's one in a million. You would really have to know her. She'll tell you your shirt is orange, and you know it's purple. And that's why you start thinking, is it orange or is it purple? Because she be a conviction.
What do you think more people need to be in prison? Do you think more people need to be in prison for this crime besides Sherra and Billy?
Jimmy. That's it.
Do you think he should have faced charges?
Yes. He saw him jumping like a deer. Didn't nobody tell him nobody dumb like no deer. He saw it with his own eyes.
You think Jimmy was there?
Yes. 3 people. 3 guns. I don't get it.
They said they couldn't find the gun Sherra lost. Well, they found it, but they don't know where it is.
Yeah, right. Okay. Who don't know where it is? Jimmy now. Jimmy ain't gonna implicate his. You see how he skated around his cousin. First he told us she was in the street. Then he told me she wouldn't. Make up your mind. You know, like doing the stuff of what he said or she said, I remember. And he said Sherra was running in the street.
When Jimmy described going to Atlanta twice to kill your son, how did that make you feel?
Sherra, no good for nothing. He didn't do it for himself. He wasn't gonna get nothing from Lorenzen being dead. But what Sherra might have gave him, nickels and pennies. That's it. That's the money. And he's not a good person anyway, because that black lawyer that Sherra had when she first got arrested here in Memphis, that's the lawyer that Lorenzen hired for Jimmy when he killed his girlfriend. Lorenzen hired a lawyer for him. But then he killed him a few years later. Ain't no business.
How does that make you feel that anyone would want to even have the thought to play in on a plot?
Sickening. I can't think of nothing why I want to kill anybody, just long a person of my son's stature. Anybody. Murder. No, accident. You hear accident. There was no accident. There was intent.
Miss Marion, I remember going to those celebrations every year that you had for your son.
Okay.
You never gave up hope.
If I gave up, who gonna stand in my place? I'm his mom and his daddy right now. I don't see that, do y'all?
You gonna go visit him tomorrow?
Yes. No, today. What time the cemetery close? See, our cemetery don't close in Mississippi. It's still open all night. But this cemetery closes a certain time.
What would you say about how police and the prosecution handled this case?
Girl, that was off the chain. It was too good. They did their job. If I had some money to pay them, I'd pay them myself. They did good. They did the A-team did what they were supposed to do. The Tony and Nino them.
Let me ask you this: the detective that was on this case, the first round. Obviously, this could have been solved 12 years ago.
Yeah, if we had the right people. You're right. It could have been. Didn't take them no time. Once they got to getting it together, everything just started coming together.
Tell us who you're pointing at.
Yes.
Who are you pointing at?
My people. They in here somewhere. My police, I got a handful of police of my own.
What would you say to that first set of detectives that was on this case?
I told Tony Armstrong what to tell them. Get off their butts. Because they were doing a Holly Bobo time. I told him, look, I told Tony Armstrong, look, they got Holly Bobo killer. Why you ain't got the men on the streets trying to find Lorenzen's? Y'all know I didn't shut my mouth. That was my firstborn. I wasn't going. They still ain't made no sense about nothing. To me. Might have did for somebody else, but not to me.
You said you go to the graveyard and you can hear Lorenzen telling you they don't give up. They haven't got him yet. They haven't got him. What will he be telling you now?
Don't stop. No, he said don't stop. Because listen, one day I was thinking about, Lord, I'm just going to wait and see what happens. I was standing in his grave, girl, the aunt told my feet up. Aunt told me up. That was him telling me, you're not finna stop nothing. I'm talking my feet was swollen when I got home. It was him. That was him. That's why I wanted to walk in his last step. They didn't understand why I want. It ain't like I just wanted to go see the bones. I want to walk in his last step. Maybe he would have left some for me. That's the only reason I want, to go down there where his body was.
What do you think he was saying now?
Ooh, Mama, you did it. I hear, Mommy, you did it. I wouldn't give up. That was my first. He would do the same thing for me. But it would have been Tazzle down the road with him. Because if he had heard somebody did something to me, he got to have it.
What is that birthday celebration going to be at?
It's one of my friends got back with how he got two of them, but he told me I got to go pick one of them out. But it's in South Haven? Whitehaven. It's in Whitehaven. In Willa Harper's.
Okay, Marion, did you hesitate at all that the jury would find justice for you?
No, because what was making sense? Wasn't nothing making sense for them to say not guilty. After Billy's lawyers went in, our lawyers came with a rebuttal. He crushed everything that lawyer had just said. He crushed it. Was going out there, man.
What did it feel like to hear the word guilty?
Oh, girl, you just don't know. Like that detective said, Billy Hall, that's where man was. Pow, pow, pow.
And there you have it right there. In the Billy Ray Turner case, guilty count 1, guilty count 2, guilty count 3. Billy Ray Turner sitting there as we continue to watch these live pictures coming from 201 Poplar, showing very little signs of emotion. We also saw at the same time Deborah Marion, the mother of Lorenzen Wright. She sat there nodding her head as she heard the verdict read.
Absolutely. It's been a long time coming for Miss Deborah Marion, who has been waiting for justice, as she's told us many times over the years, for her son. You could see her there shaking her head, almost holding back tears as she listened. Again, count 1, first-degree murder. Count 2, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Count 3, criminal attempt first-degree murder. Guilty on all 3 counts.
Yeah, and going back to Deborah Marion, can you imagine what she has been feeling all of these years as she has been in that courtroom almost every day, watching every proceeding, listening to every word,
got somebody else, for actually doing what they did. Not just facilitation. He got charged with the real deal crime. Murder, first degree, and facilitation. All the above.
Did you have any eye contact with Billy Ray Turner today?
Every time I looked at him, he turned his head. But I stared him down. I can tell you how many hairs he got going down his face. I was on him like this.
Mrs. Marion, what kept you going through all of this? There's 7 years where this was a cold case.
Actually, his children. They wasn't talking to me. Well, one of them talking to me because I kept having they had a birthday party. I kept having a vision. They said if I hadn't kept doing all that, they wouldn't. Mama wouldn't have got arrested. But once they started realizing what they hear, they cool. I got pictures of my granddaughter I ain't seen in 11 years. I haven't seen her. She called me the other night. I had to get her off the phone.
To your other grandchildren that you haven't spoken to, what do you want to tell them?
I love them. They know, but I won't tell them again. I'm always love my grandkids. They ain't sour because their mama sour.
If you could talk to Billy Turner, what would you tell him?
You fool. How you let a woman mess your life for? She tricked you like she was gonna marry you and y'all were gonna live on that $1 million, and she married 2 other guys and you wasn't either one of them. You fool. You should have played it out first. Dummy.
Thank you, Ms. Marion.
Thank you, Ms. Marion.
Thank you.
Show what I tell them. Dumb body.
The man convicted of killing Lorenzen was no longer walking freely through the city. Turner received life imprisonment for the murder, followed by additional sentences for conspiracy and attempted murder. His earliest possible release would come at an age few prisoners ever reach. Sherra, who prosecutors described as central to the planning, had received 30 years. Martin, who knew where the weapon was and admitted participating in the cover-up, received immunity. That contrast left the case legally solved, but emotionally unsettled. The person prosecutors portrayed as the organizer received less time than the man convicted of carrying out the killing. The witness with intimate knowledge received no Lorenzen-related sentence at all, and the children were left to understand that their mother had helped arrange their father's death. So tell me honestly, was Sherra's 30-year plea deal justice, or did prosecutors give away too much to avoid the risk of trial? Should Martin have received immunity when he admitted helping destroy evidence and hide the gun? And how could Lorenzen's family ever know the full truth when the two people with the most information never gave a complete account in open court? In 2024, Sherra appeared before the Tennessee Board of Parole and asked for mercy. Lorenzen's family attended the hearing and opposed her release. Deborah spoke about the son she lost and the 6 surviving children who had grown up without their father. Sherra's request was denied. Her next opportunity for consideration was moved years into the future. Turner continued claiming he was innocent. He argued that emotions and Lorenzen's popularity had influenced the jury. He said other information and other people had been left out of the case. Deborah dismissed those claims. To her, Turner was exactly where he belonged. The convictions answered the legal question of responsibility. But they did not undo what happened to Lorenzen's family. After Sherra's arrest, some of the children initially blamed Deborah for pushing the investigation. Their grandmother had spent years demanding arrests. When those arrests finally came, the children lost the only parent still present in their daily lives. As they grew older and understood more of the evidence, the family began reconnecting. Deborah's fight had never been against the children. She had been fighting for their father. Lorenzen Wright was 34 years old when he was killed. He had played 13 seasons in the NBA. He had earned millions, built a local legacy, and fathered a large family. But none of that protected him from a person who knew exactly how to earn his trust. Sherra did not have to force Lorenzen into a vehicle. She did not have to kidnap him. She did not have to invent a stranger's identity. She only had to call. She knew he would respond because they shared children, history, and years of emotional connection. That was the weapon before the guns were ever raised. Trust. She used a possible financial opportunity to draw him toward the ambush. When he realized what was happening, he ran. He called for help. The emergency system heard his death unfolding and failed to respond. Then Sherra publicly suggested drugs had killed him. She attended his funeral, collected the policy he created for their children, and spent almost every dollar. His mother spent 7 years fighting while Sherra lived with the truth. The money is shocking. The affair is scandalous. The plea deal is controversial. But the cruelest detail may still be the simplest. Lorenzen Wright went to that meeting because he trusted the mother of his children. And that trust led him directly into the woods where people were waiting to kill him. Do you believe money was the true motive behind Lorenzen's murder? Do you believe Sherra should have received the same life sentence as Turner? And who failed Lorenzen more in his final moments, the people chasing him through those woods or the dispatcher who heard the shots and sent no help? Share your opinion in the comments. Lorenzen's name remains important in Memphis, not only because of basketball, but because his mother refused to let his murder become another forgotten cold case. Subscribe to this channel for more true crime stories where the person a victim trusted most was hiding the deadliest plan.